to do with psychology, it could be to do with anything. You need to be continuously improving yourselves. But most importantly, yeah, Halima? Yeah, very good. Yeah. So don't try to rush. Don't try to rush your knowledge. Be patient. Take your time. That's an important thing as well. Yeah, take your time. Understand that you're in it for the long haul. It's not a short thing. And this is why Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, he said a very beautiful saying. He said, "Ma'al mahbarati ila al-maqbarati." It rhymes in English. In Arabic. He says, "Ma'al mahbara ila al-maqbara." Right? With the ink pot to the grave. Right? With the ink pot. Ma'al mahbara ila al-maqbara. Very, very nice, you know. And we've talked all about this. You guys can see yourself that those who have knowledge and are true to that knowledge, of course, who are faithful to that knowledge, and those who don't, they're not equal, are they? There's a difference in your own minds and in your own hearts, in your own perceptions between two people. This is what the Quran says, La yastawun. They're different in Allah's eyes, and they're also different in the eyes of people. So just think, how nice would it be for you to tread the path of knowledge? How nice would it be for everybody in this room if they went away from this lecture and if the only thing that you learned from this lecture was that I want to gain a bit more knowledge than I used to have before, then that would have been a bit of a success, right? Inshallah. Right? If that's the only thing that everybody in this room goes away thinking, I'll do a bit, make that intention, I'll tread the path, I want to learn this, I want to learn a bit of Arabic, I want to learn fiqh, I want to learn the Quran, I want to learn hadith, just do it, don't worry. You tread the path Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and who doesn't want to be raised degrees? When Allah says you'll be raised, يَرْفَعِ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مِنكُمْ وَالَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْعِلْمَ darajat. Who doesn't want that? So why, let's go for it. It's there, it's easy. It's there, it's accessible. Just take it. Take it. No one's stopping you. I'm not stopping you. Nobody's stopping you. What made Malcolm X different to everybody else? I'm not saying I agree with everything Malcolm X did, by the way. Right? I'm not saying I agree with some of his methods, right? What made him different was just this. Nothing stopping you from doing whatever you want in life. Nothing except you. You can achieve whatever you want. So it's all about just having that motivation. And inshallah, by being on this course, you're already doing that. So mashallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from you and raise you even more. Okay, so again, just a bit about the knowledge, just to finish off this point now. What was the knowledge that the Prophet increased in? Was it engineering? Was it medicine? Was it philosophy? What was it? It was the knowledge of the Quran, wasn't it? And of Allah and the Akhirah. That's the knowledge that the Quran time and time talks about. And that's very clear. Okay, now, let's go on a bit. I want to, now having said all of that, because we've said that the Quran talks about a specific type of knowledge. We said that knowledge is general, and we've talked about religious knowledge, and we said that there's no such thing as sacred and religious, and we said that there's not beneficial. So that can get a bit confusing, right? I think, for me, right? So this is my teacher, Sheikh Akram, he splits knowledge up into these three categories. Yeah, into these three categories. He says that knowledge this is the topology of knowledge, a hierarchy of knowledge. He says there's these three types of knowledge. Al-ilm al-maqsood li dhatihi. This is knowledge which is intended in and of itself. It is an end, it is not a means, basically. Right? And this is the knowledge of the Quran, this is the knowledge of Allah, this is the knowledge of the Akhirah. This is where it comes. This is the knowledge that is maqsood li dhatihi. It is primarily intended. It is the most important thing. It is the knowledge that is going to make us succeed in the next life. It is the knowledge which is going to make us fear Allah. It is the knowledge that is going to drive us to stand all night in prayer. It is the knowledge that will give us khashya. It is the knowledge that will raise us. This is the knowledge that is maqsood li dhatihi. Okay, this is why we've been created. This is the purpose of why we're here on this life. Okay, then there's a second type of knowledge, which is ulum al-aliyah, which is basically sciences which help this, which assist this. So, for example, you've got Arabic, right? Arabic isn't an end in and of itself. You don't learn Arabic for the sake of Arabic so that you learn Arabic, right? You learn Arabic because you want access to the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. So it's an assisting knowledge. It's an, what's a better word? Huh? Yeah, it's the means to the end, right? It's the means to the end, right? It's yeah, a means to the end. So then there's, I'll give you some other disciplines which have been developed by Muslims in this category. It's the three usul disciplines, which are basically usul al-tafsir, right, or ulum al-Quran, which are basically the study of the Quran and some of the sciences that help us to study the Quran. There's also usul al-hadith, so the sciences that help us to study the statements and the teachings of the Prophet ﷺ and to discern what's authentic from not authentic. And then there's usul al-fiqh, which are basically it's the science of hermeneutics, basically, to use a jargonistic word. It is the science which deals with how to interpret the Quran and the Sunnah and what are the sources of knowledge in our religion. So that's another example here. These are very, I mean, I'm sure you've heard some of these before, and these are all standard courses and subjects that you learn in Sharia courses. And then you have history here, right? That's a very, very important. It's not as emphasized in Islamic curricula as it should be. But history is really, really important. Knowing the history of knowledge in Islam, knowing the biographies of the scholars, knowing the biographies when people died. Abu Hanifa dies 150, Malik dies 179, Shafi dies 204, Muhammad dies 241. Tirmidhi dies in 303. Nasa'i dies in 303. These types of things. Knowing their dates of death, knowing where they lived, knowing who their teachers were, knowing some of their life points. These are all really, really important things. And just knowing, so I'm not talking about the political history. The political history is fine. Often in Islamic curricula, you learn a lot about political history. The Umayyads and the Abbasids and the Uthmaniyin, the Ottomans. But there's also a theological history, if you like, or a knowledge history, a scholarly history. That's what I mean. Okay. So all these are examples of ulum aliyah. And then there are ulum nafi'ah, right? These are the beneficial things that we were talking about. Yeah? Ulum nafi'ah. Basically what we mean by ulum nafi'ah, even these are nafi'ah. Nafi'ah basically means beneficial, right? Even these two are nafi'ah, right? But these are, if you like, non-religious. Yeah? Non-religious. Yeah? So these are things like eating or drinking or engineering or farming or medicine, anything that helps this main purpose. So this one helps this purpose, and even this one helps this purpose. Because we need to be healthy. إِنَّ الْمُؤْمِنَ الْقَوِيِّ خَيْرٌ وَأَحَبُّ إِلَى اللَّهِ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِ الضَّعِيفِ. The strong mu'min, the strong believer is more beloved and better in Allah's eyes than a weak one. So these things all help. If you're not strong and if you're not healthy mentally or physically, you can't do much. You can't even pray properly, right? And all of that thing. So anyway, that's a topology that Sheikh Akram my teacher Sheikh Akram Nadwi often gives. I thought that I'd give that because we're talking about knowledge. Now, I want to say, this is, here. There have been disciplines, there have been sciences that have been developed that I think are not actually beneficial, and they're here. And I want to, well, what I mean they're not beneficial, they have some benefit, but they also have a lot of harm. That's what I want to say. And I'll mention the ones that I want to mention. So number one is Aqidah. Aqidah was a science that arose within the Muslim Ummah when basically it entered into a period of fraction and disputation, when heretical sects arose like the Khawarij and the Mu'tazila and the Shia, and when basically there was an influence of Greek theology and Greek philosophy into the Muslim minds. And Mustafa Sibai in his book on Sunnah says most of the Mu'tazila were Persian, and they were affected by Persian thought and by Persian philosophy. When all of that happened, basically the Muslims developed this science called Aqidah, which is basically a creed, right? And most of Aqidah is disputing about things like, the sifat of Allah, the characteristics or the attributes of Allah, whether ta'wil should take place, whether tafweed should take place, whether, some of these things should happen. The Quran never talks about Aqidah. The Quran doesn't say you can have a certain Aqidah and you will enter into paradise. But this is what people think today. People think that you can say a set of statements, and this is exactly what the Jews and the Christians developed, and the Prophet ﷺ warned us from following them in a Sahih Hadith. They developed creeds like the Creed of Nicaea and the Creed of whatever, they've got so many of them, that if you believe this, you're part of our group and you're not part of, and you're with us and you're not against us. And this is exactly what happened in the Muslim Ummah. We started developing creeds, and we started to enter into disputation about matters of the ghaib and matters on mutashabihat issues. So in my opinion, and opinion of my teacher, actually, Shaykh Akram Nadwi, this is it's a damaging science. Maybe there need to be one or two specialists in it to defend the Muslim Ummah, right? But it's not something that people need to generally learn. What people need to learn is what the Quran says, which is iman and amal. Is this khashya, is this hadar of the akhirah. This is the true ilm. This is the true ilm. So this is number one. Number two, another thing is, in my opinion, which has a lot of harm in it, is tasawwuf, which is, in my opinion, Islamized mysticism. And again, if you look at the history,